came across my desk. And it was about the security of U.S. military bases, and I have a keen interest in this topic, actually. And I thought, well, what a fascinating conversation. So with us we have a disabled veteran himself, Marshal Chamberlain, who now has access to the majority of government military bases, and I'm kind of curious about that. Welcome to the show, Marshal. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great, Mr. Tolley. Thank you a lot for inviting me.
Oh, thanks for joining us. Now, military-based security is something I really do have a keen interest in. It's something that I'm fairly familiar with, actually. Do you believe that currently our military bases are as safe and secure as they should be?
Of course not. I think that's the whole reason for our discussion here. You're going to have to pardon me a little bit. I got a frog in my throat here this morning, but I'll weather the storm.
Well, I actually do too. I have a hot cup of chocolate and a bunch of throw lozenges, and I'm thinking, okay, well, he'll probably be in great form. I'll just let him talk, and we'll be fine. So, a couple of frogs, you and I, but we'll get through it.
Well,
Go ahead.
You got an excuse. You're in Jersey, and it's cold up there, and I'm down here in Florida.
Yeah, you have no excuses. Okay, so the military bases, obviously, they're not as secure as they should be. Safety and security are two totally separate things. What should we be concerned about from a secure standpoint? I mean, are we at risk of having secrets, assets, or intelligence stolen, destroyed, whatever?
The key here for me was over the years I've had access to military bases for more than a decade now. As a disabled Marine Corps officer. And I've had the privilege of being on these bases and enjoying the recreation facilities, the commissary. I can go anywhere once I get through that front gate, and nobody pays me any attention. The whole point being really that I became over the years very outraged at how simple it was to get on the base. I would take a group of three of my guys, and we'd go play golf at a major facility, a major base, and nobody ever got checked. The only thing that got checked was my ID card by the guard at the gate, and waved right through, vehicle and all. Very disheartening. And when the naval facility in D.C. Got penetrated here some time back, a few months ago, it just threw me over the edge, and I decided as a thriller author that I would write a story that illustrated a plausible attack on a real base.
The people who are in charge of securing these facilities, a lot of them obviously have to know how easy it is to get in and out of these installations. Why do you think we're so lax at securing these things?
Mr. Tolley, I have no idea. I'm hoping that through my effort, and hopefully your listeners will feel the same kind of outrage after they read the complimentary story that I have for them, that we'll all do something together to bring this to the government's attention, the military's attention, in a way that they can't ignore.
Now, the ability to tie things into fiction, I keep telling our listeners that I think it's vitally important. We always say, we're moving towards an Orwellian society in reference to, again, a novelist, George Orwell, in 1984. So I believe in the power of fictionalizing truth in order to get a message out. You have done the same thing. Can you tell us the baseline of your story?
The story is written about a plausible attack on MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa, Florida. MacDill houses the central command for our military, so it's a very, very important base. It has other functions as well, but that is a very, very important operating and administrative center. I've cruised into that base on probably 20, 30 times with my golfers, and never have any of the people in my car been checked, their IDs. Our car has never been inspected. And the focal point here is that anybody can get through there with a vehicle, and inside that vehicle, because it hasn't been inspected, can be anything from RPGs, weapons, bombs, you name it.
Well, even other operatives. I mean, you could have a trunk full of operatives driving up in a 1968 Cadillac or something. Now, see, that's the disturbing part to me, because not only are these installations easy to get in and out of, once you're in there, I don't think the general populace realizes how lax security is inside. I mean, we have a tendency to watch movies and think, okay, well, everybody's armed, there's soldiers all over the place ready to respond to things, and that's simply not the case, is it?
No, the base is a business. It's just going about doing what it does, and there are tons of civilians walking all over in regular civilian-type clothing. They're contractors in their uniforms, and utility trucks going about their business just like they would be in a normal suburb. And again, as you pointed out as well, a person who gets aboard the base can go anywhere they want. They can wander anywhere. They can go into an airplane hangar. They can walk into the commissary. They can play golf at the golf course. They can go down and rent a boat. They can walk right up to Sitcom's operational center and walk right down the hall.
That's just unreal to me. It's crazy to think that military bases are 10 times less secure than O'Hare Airport or something. I mean, the TSA has everything on lockdown. You can't have your grandma bring her hemorrhoid cream, for goodness sakes, because it's 4 ounces instead of 3. But you could walk into a military base with evil intent, and nobody's going to stop you.
That's affirmative.
That's just absolutely nuts, is what that is.
It's a travesty.
Continue on with the baseline of your story. So you use the vulnerability of a military base to carry out the story. You use one in Tampa. What's the theme? What's the cause? Who's carrying out the attack?
I invented a nondescript patriot group that carries out this attack. As you probably saw in some of the background notes you received, there's over 1,000 of these hate groups that have been identified by Homeland Security and the FBI, and they're following them as much as they possibly can. But crazy people can come from anywhere. They don't even have to be formed up as a group, as we well see from the news and horrendous things that have happened here in the last few years, right here.
Well, sir, hold on 1 second, sir. Can you stick around for another segment, because we're up against a break?
Absolutely.
Perfect. And we'll be back with Marshall Chamberlain right after this. Don't go anywhere. All around. Time I was on my way. Want to be the smartest person you know? Then keep listening. This is the Josh Tolley Show on GCN Radio Network.
Since day one, you have heard Josh Tolley talking about the importance of entrepreneurship. If you are like thousands of others who have agreed with what he has been saying, you need to hear about SpinStreak. SpinStreak is now working with Josh to get listeners just like you set up with their own business opportunity, which also helps other businesses grow. If you agree that free enterprise is the fuel for freedom, then we want to talk to you. Licensing territories are available across the U.S. in an industry which is growing. Don't miss the opportunity to change the course of your life and your community. For more information, visit spinstreak.com.
While there are 1 million Bitcoin holders now in the world, there are tens of millions feeling left out. Consider this. If you would have invested $1,000 early on in Bitcoin, you would be worth over $10 million today. Here's the good news, though. There is a better cryptocurrency now being praised as the real alternative cryptocurrency, WorldCoin, with the ability for faster transaction times, easier entry for people, and the rapid rise of commercial use. Don't let this opportunity be the one you miss. Get more information at worldcoinfoundation.org.
Great news, pure water lovers. BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com has a special discount offer for all GCN listeners. You can't do better than a Big Berkey for economy. For only 1.7 cents a gallon, a single set of filters can last for 5 to 10 years. There's none better than a Big Berkey for emergency preparedness as a backup water source. And you just can't beat a Big Berkey to remove dangerous chlorine, all types of fluoride, pathogenic bacteria, cysts, parasites, and unhealthy byproducts from municipal water. Berkey water filter systems are even powerful enough to purify stagnant pond water. For the gold standard in water filters, get a Big Berkey at BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. And all GCN listeners get 5% off all ceramic filter systems. For details, call 1-877-99-BERKEY. That's 877-99-BERKEY. Big Berkey Water Filters, for the love of clean water.
If you owe the IRS back taxes, listen carefully. Sweeping changes to IRS policies will help more people than ever eliminate their tax debts once and for all. And now, thanks to Dan Pilla, you can get the tax help you need to end your tax nightmare.
Hi, I'm Dan Pilla. I've helped thousands of people reduce or eliminate tax debts they couldn't pay. And after more than 30 years of experience dealing with the IRS, I can tell you there's no such thing as a hopeless tax case. With the IRS's new policies, it's easier than ever to put your tax debt behind you once and for all. Call now at 800-346-6829 to learn how I can help you. You know your IRS debt will not go away by itself, but you don't have to live in fear anymore. Call 800-346-6829. Learn how I can help you eliminate wage and bank levies, release tax liens, and negotiate a settlement with the IRS that will put your tax nightmare behind you forever. Call 800-34-NO-TAX or go to my website, taxhelponline.com. That's taxhelponline.com.
Can Heart and Body Extract help with other ailments besides heart conditions, high blood pressure, clogged arteries, or unbalanced cholesterol? It did for Karen.
I've been using Heart and Body Extract for approximately 2 weeks. I've had an earwax buildup problem for many years, with over-the-counter stuff not working at all. I had very poor hearing due to this earwax buildup. Well, after 2 weeks of taking Heart and Body Extract, my earwax buildup almost completely cleared up. Could this be the effect of better body circulation?
Heart and Body Extract is an effective 100% organic nutritional supplement specially formulated to allow your body to heal itself.
My hearing is almost completely back to normal. I'm amazed.
Order by calling 866-295-5305 or online at hbextract.com. That's 866-295-5305 or hbextract.com. Heart and Body Extract for long and healthy life.
You know, the illusion of security is everywhere, and it is just an illusion. I was at an airport, I'm not going to say which one, but I rented a vehicle, and to return that vehicle, you actually go beyond where the airport building is. You go past the drop-off point for the gates, and you turn to the right, and it actually takes you right next door to the airport facility building itself. You could look out the passenger window of the rental car, see into the window of the airport, and there is nothing stopping a bad guy from having 40 pounds of explosives in the trunk of that car, nothing at all. So the illusion of security is really kind of crazy when it comes to public places like airports. However, I do believe that we should be very secure in our military assets, our military bases, and it's shocking how lax that truly is. And we spend more time securing a zoo, for goodness sakes, than we do securing a military facility. And we're talking with Marshall Chamberlain about this issue. And now, Marshall, tell us a little bit more about the story that you've written and where people can get it.
Will do. The story is written from the viewpoint of the terrorists, and it's in documentary style. It's very rapid fire. It moves right along. I made it into a PDF file, which is on my website at marshallchamberlain.com, and a listener just has to click on the books tab and they'll see the title there of the terrorist scenario, and they click on that and they can download the PDF and enjoy that and share it with their friends and relatives, and hopefully get outraged and go to social media and spread the word for me.
Well, yeah, I like I said before, I think fiction does a lot to draw attention to real situations. We've seen it time and again. You know, a movie might come out and it might change policy, for goodness sakes, just because somebody came up with the idea in a fiction format. I do have to ask you, though, I mean, you chose a domestic terror group. Why did you go with them as opposed to the typical, you know, some sort of Islamic fundamentalist group that's so usually used in fiction?
Well, I think from the incidents that we've had here in this country, the only time that the outside terrorist group has been sincerely responsible for total disaster was our 9/11 situation. Most of these incidents, recent incidents over the last decade or so, have taken place with these so-called hate groups or individuals that go haywire.
You know, the interesting thing about that, though, I mean, you're on that list. I mean, Southern Poverty Law Center and the Department of Homeland Security places disabled veterans as individuals to watch because, you know, you might be mad, you might want to kill somebody. So as somebody who is identified as one of those, you know, domestic patriotic threats, how do you feel about that classification?
I was unaware that disabled veterans were classified that way.
Yeah. Matter of fact, the Secretary of Homeland Security came out and warned against you guys, saying that you are probably one of the largest threats that we face. And, of course, you know, most listeners to this show would probably be on that list as well. They put out a list of things to be suspicious of. If you have more than one cell phone, if you pay with cash, if you are at a nightclub and you appear nervous, it's not because you're thinking about asking a girl out. It's because, you know, that's a see something, say something sort of situation. So, you know, to me, part of the problem is the people who classify you as a domestic terrorist threat are the same people who are trying to keep those bases safe while they're completely insufficiently prepared to do so.
Yeah, it's quite an interesting dichotomy here. One hand doesn't know what the other's doing. I'm just hoping.
And you know, to make it even worse, I mean, we have a situation where when you look at I think it's the past 7 out of 10 domestic terrorist attacks, they were all planned for, paid for, thought out by, supplied by the FBI, where the FBI was designing the terror plot in the first place and then finding some mentally ill individual saying, see, we prevented terrorism. So this whole terrorist threat that we're facing is so undefined that it's the threat is more, to me, the idea of classifying the threat is scarier than the threat itself.
That's a pretty interesting way of looking at it. It makes me want to think that we should go back to Big Brother times and say, hey, we missed it back in 1984. Maybe it's happening to us now.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, you know, with someone with your experience and your ability to put these things into words, to look into that would be something that I would think would be really eye-opening. So to tell us about your writing process, because I'm a writer and we have a few minutes with you. Do you write backwards to forwards? Do you know how the story's going to end and then you just fill in the blanks, or do you start in the beginning and just kind of go and see where it takes you?
Are you talking about my adventure thrillers or this terrorist story?
Well, fiction overall, because like I said, when I write nonfiction. So I'm always fascinated by you fiction guys who just, you know, put this story somehow is in your head and you put it on paper.
Well, I write scene by scene. I'll get a story idea in my mind, and then I'll just sit down and see where my mind takes me scene by scene. And as the scenes get kind of put away into a file, I begin to slowly, after maybe 50 scenes have gone by, I begin to fashion the story even further and begin to sort the scenes into potential chapters. So that's how I work. I never know how it's going to end until maybe halfway to 2/3 through my writing.
Wow. And how long does it take?
Oh, gosh. To write a book, to do a first draft on a 350-page fiction book would take me, if I was really in the juices and not distracted and could write pretty much every day for 3 or 4 hours, it would take me about 6 months. And that's only the beginning. Then you got all the editing process you've got to go through. You got to edit a couple of times yourself, and you've got to send it out to outside editors for developmental editing, and then there's copyright editing, and then there's readers reading it and making sure that they don't get hung up on anything that doesn't make sense. And then you re-edit, and then proof it.
Wow, that's just amazing to me. At some point in the future, I'm going to write a novel. It's just so much more complicated than nonfiction. Nonfiction, it's basically like sitting down and doing one of my seminars, just writing it out instead of doing it in a presentation form. But I did want to bring this to your attention, because while you were talking, I did find it. The Department of Homeland Security issued the following statement. The return of military veterans facing significant challenge reintegrating into their communities could lead to the potential emergence of terrorist groups and lone wolf extremists. Returning veterans possess combat skills and experience that are attractive to extremists. DHS is concerned that these returning veterans, right-wing extremists, will attempt to recruit and radicalize our veterans in order to boost violent capacities. So you, sir, are the threat that the Southern Poverty Law Center and Homeland Security is out to stop.
Well, they'd probably put an age limit on that.
Well, I would. Well, strategically, just thinking out loud, I really wouldn't. When you look at the number of veterans who are, Vietnam era, Korea era, first Gulf War era, the number of veterans who are getting angered at the response that their government is having towards the destruction of the Constitution, you actually have a lot of people in those demographics who are starting to say, hey, wait a second, I think some of these politicians are the very enemies that they swore to protect the Constitution from, those domestic variety. Anyway, it was a blast having you on. I look forward to reading the work. I hope everybody else does too. The website, MarshallChamberlain.com, and we'll be back right after this.
Thanks a lot.